Okay, so I believe that gone are the days of reviewing where we just had paper and pencil or we did an oral type of review. Nowadays, it's so much more fun when we have things like Kahoot. So that's what I'm going to show you about today. A little bit of Kahoot. I want you to know I used the free version for years, but since moving to a new job, I've decided I went Kahoot Pro, and I think it's like $49 a year or $39 a year. So, to be fair, I do have the paid version, but that's just so I can put in my own pictures, and it just has so many more editing capabilities. And I love that I have the paid version. But I used the free version for years and years and years and loved it almost equally. So you can definitely do that. So you go to createkahoot.it or Kahoot. If you do the web search, it will come up. And then you create your account. And then basically... this is kind of, it's a little bit, I don't know, chaotic, I think, on the dashboard. But I have Kahoots that I made at my old job, and then I have some that are here. And I create my own folders for the level of courses that I'm using. And what I love about Kahoot is that you can get quizzes that other people have made. So that's why I have a folder. You can create folders to sort all of this stuff, but I have folders for things that when I duplicate a quiz that I've found online, then I can put it in here in the sort pile. All right, let's go to what would be the equivalent of Spanish 1. So all of these have my name on them, but that's because I've found them online and I've duplicated them, and then I've gone in. Sometimes I find a couple of good quizzes for any given chapter. So anyway, what I've gone in and I've gone in and edited the titles a little bit and whatnot. And when you do that and save it, it automatically puts your name on it. But to be fair, most of these from Authentico I have not written because I just have not simply had any time. So a word of caution with that opened the quiz, if you notice that when I clicked on the title, and it gives you sort of a preview to that. And so if you want to edit some things, and then first of all you can show the answers. If you want to edit some things before you play, you click on these three dots over here and go to edit, and that's where you can edit the title up there in different settings, etc., etc. And then you can go through here. It's kind of like a PowerPoint or a Google Slides presentation. You go down to the question you want, and then you can change up some things. You're the one who decides which answers are acceptable and whatnot. So when you're done, you click done, and it then is finished. So anyhow, then you have your whole arsenal of things. And they go to My Kahoots or wherever your default folder is, and then you can sort them through and put them, by class or whatever the case might be. So these are My Kahoots, and I want to show you how to discover a Kahoot made by someone else. You go to Discover, and then you just type in a keyword. So I'm going to push Spanish direct object pronouns. And you see here that a whole bunch come up, okay? And I try not to put these in if I'm in a hurry because I like to, a quiz is only as good as whether or not it's giving correct information for fun even. So I try not to put these in if they've been made by perhaps a student for extra credit or whatever the case might be, because it might be giving false information. So I always try to click on it and read it and that kind of thing. I can show the answers, and then if I like it, I also try to get ones that say that they're made by a teacher or something like that. If it says Mrs. Hall, teacher or whatever, then I'm like, okay, that's pretty trustworthy. But I do look at them. Then you click on that and you hit duplicate, and then it shows up in my Kahoots. And then you go to this and open it, click on the title again, and then you can edit it. And that's where you edit the title, okay? And you can put in new pictures and stuff like that. And then when you're done, you hit done, and then your name will show up as that. So that's how you get new ones. Go to Discover and then type in the keyword, and then you can find them there. All right, so let's go back home here, and if I want to play, for instance, I had a student make one, and it does have some grammatical mistakes, but that's okay. My students were all ready to play their fellow students' Kahoot, so we did that the other day. It was the mistakes were rather benign, but I could open that and edit it once the student sent it to me. So anyhow, you open whatever Kahoot you want to play with students. Go to Kahoots. Let's go to my folder here. Let's go back to the first one, and I think it was 1A, quiz 1, and I click on that, and then I hit, if I'm ready to play this with my students or have my students play, they would get out some kind of smart device, and I would be projecting up on my short throw projector a screen, and I would hit play. They would have the capability of either going to Kahoot.it to play in a web-based version, or they could download the Kahoot app on their phones. Most of my kids have downloaded the Kahoot app on their phone. So anyway, I hit play, and then they can choose. Do they want to do teams today, or do they want to do classic? Most of the time my students choose the classic mode because the team mode takes longer, and it gives them time to discuss the answers with their teammates, and sometimes we don't get a quiz done because it takes so long. So they usually will choose classic, and then once you do that, some funky music comes up, and you can change that if you want, and this screen here will display. They go to the Kahoot app or to the web-based version, and put that number in, that code in, and then they create a name. You can delete inappropriate names and that kind of thing. And then you're just ready to go. I can't start it because I don't have anyone, but once the quiz opens, it would open up, and this first question would show up on the screen. How do you say swim in Spanish? And then these 4 options would show up on their device without the correct answer, obviously. And so they would have to touch red, blue, yellow, or green. They can play this via laptop as well, but most people use a touch screen. So it works for correct answers, but it also works for fastest finger. So if 2 people have the same answer and it's correct, it's whoever answered it more quickly is the one who gets the points. And at the end of the game, there's a little podium, and it shows people on the podium, and you can also get reports where it talks about, like, statistically how many people answered questions correctly or whatever, and you can keep points for people if you want to use it for their grade. So why would I use Kahoot for the classroom, and who's my intended audience and that kind of thing? I use it for exam review, cultural review. It's a nice brainstorming type of quiz where if we're shoving off into a new topic, then we can take a little like pre-knowledge quiz, like what do they bring in as far as background knowledge. It's awesome for exam review. To study or review verb conjugations, for example, in Spanish, vocab, etc. So it's got a wide variety of use. But the reason I use it is because I think that a little bit of competition and game is fun for students. They really enjoy that type of review rather than me standing up in front of them and opening the books and being like, and then on page 72 we talked about food, and do you guys remember the words blah 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 blah. That gets pretty boring and pretty old very quickly. So this is just a much more engaging way to review that vocab, grammar, culture, policy. I've made Kahoots over classroom policy and syllabus exams in college, so it is very applicable to a lot of different areas like classroom management and whatnot. But I use mine for content review and whatnot in the class. So thank you.